So I have been Hunter World recently. I played through it back after Iceborne came out, and now I'm just sort of re-going through it because I've been playing through a number of Monster Hunter games, and I just feel like talking through the monsters, talking about them, what I think. I also feel like saying the names out loud because I feel like a lot of people mispronounce them or say them in ways that sound weird to me. So I just want to be able to put my pronunciations out there that I think are right. Um so yeah, I guess just for context in terms of like how I interact with the monsters, I play mainly Gunlance and Charge Blade. So that's the perspective my thoughts on these monsters are going to be coming from. So, of course, starting off, we have the wonderful Great Jagras, which he's a bit of a dork. He's really not my favorite, like, intro tutorial monster. He's just kind of a big, useless lizard. He doesn't really. I can't think of like any seriously dangerous moves. And let's see, I don't think the first time I played through Monster Hunter World, I didn't really have any issue with him, even though it was my first time playing a game like Monster Hunter. I'd played like some Souls games beforehand, but I always played like dex weapons in Souls games, and for my first time playing through World, it was just gun lance. So those skills weren't really transferable, and even then, I didn't struggle with Mr. Jagras. I don't think I even knew that he could like eat an Aptonoth or whatever to get like fat and have a different move set until maybe high rank because he just dies so quickly that he doesn't get a chance to go to another zone. He just dies. So I don't know. I feel like he's just sort of a pushover. But, his design is cool. He reminds me of a bearded dragon or like a Rasta man. Not the two are not that the two are similar, but he has like the dreadlocks sort of, and he has the yellow, green, and black color scheme that's sort of Jamaican. I could see him like smoking a blunt or something. He's really not that interesting though, so I am going to move on to the next monster, Kulu, who is a great big chicken. Um, I think I liked him best in Sunbreak. And honestly, that probably goes for every monster in World that was in Sunbreak. I think I prefer the Sunbreak version. Maybe just because I prefer Sunbreak to World. But again, that's just a personal preference. Kuliaku is, or at least was, challenging to me because he does that fucking annoying sidestep where he moves 90 degrees, which is a new move to Monster Hunter generally compared to the earlier generations, or what I've played of the earlier generations. Monsters didn't really do the repositioning thing in terms of like moving so radically, right? They would do like little, they would turn, move, as opposed to like do a moving turn like Kuliaku does when he side hops, which is very frustrating because sometimes I forget about it and I'll go for like a full burst and I'll slam down with the gun lance and the motherfucker will just like hop out of the way of the explosion. Very, very frustrating. Um, Charge Blade, I feel like he's a little easier because I can just cancel the AED or the SAED into just the normal AED. And if it misses, that's just one file spent. And I feel like it has a better hit radius than the SAED does. Aside from like the first hit of the SAED, when you sort of like swing the axe back, it does like a little hit. That can hit the Kuliaku if he does his side hop. But the main big hit and explosions don't. They just whiff. I don't really use the SAED against most of the smaller, more mobile monsters for that reason. He has his egg, which is pretty easy to deal with, even if it's a rock that he picks up, particularly with Gunlance or even with Charge Blade. The explosions, either from shelling or the file bursts, make it pretty easy to get him to just like drop it, or in Rise or Sunbreak, it shatters the egg or the rock, and you get a little shiny. I really like that. Um, so I've never really had too much trouble with Kuliaku. Um, excuse me. Aside from all that repositioning nonsense. Let's see. Do I have anything else to say about him? I'm very annoyed that I can't cut his tail because it looks like it would be perfect to cut, but it doesn't. You can't even break it. What, you know, he's a low rank monster. Even in master rank, he's still pretty much a low rank monster, just with a little more health. So he's probably my favorite, like, chicken that we have. Bird wyvern that's like explicitly chicken like. Whereas you have like the Great Jaggy, who is wonderful, but he's a dog wyvern, I think, with his annoying to summon the little Jaggy and Jagia. Um, I'm really sad we haven't gotten the Great Jaggy in a long time. I really hope. Well, he's not going to be. I was gonna say I hope Wild's G rank comes with Great Jaggy, but they're not gonna start off their G rank with a returning monster. That doesn't make any sense. So I don't know. But that's what maybe Kuliaku makes me think of. I wish we had Jaggy instead. Then comes Pookie Pookie, who is one of my favorite like early game monsters in World. He has a satisfying tail cut. I love poison as a mechanic. It's good. It puts pressure on the player, but not so much where it's like I need to stop everything I'm doing and deal with it. Which is like blast blight. That's a very unfun thing to say. Blast blight. Sorry, I tend to ramble a little bit, so we'll get through all of these monsters eventually. It probably won't be that long for me to get through them, hopefully. Anyway, Pukey Pukey, he has the poison. He has the really satisfying tail cut. You can break his wings. I feel like he's a good intro flying wyvern. I like him so much better than Yan Kutku, who is just fucking annoying. And Yan or not no, it is Yan Kutku, and specifically Yan Garuga with in For You and maybe even earlier, they have the fucking no startup charge, and that is the most irritating move in pretty much any monster's move set because it happens and suddenly you're knocked back and it just is really annoying. So thankfully Pookie Pookie doesn't have that. He does have like a forward charge move, but there's a little bit of a wind up to it. So I feel like he's a good starter, he or she. I sometimes I think it's a she, but that may just be because it's really colorful. But in nature, that would make more sense for it to be a he then, right? The female Pookie Pookie is probably pretty subdued looking. Um, let's see. I like the tail attacks that he can do aside from just the turning around. I don't remember if I again for most of these low rank monsters and even in high rank, if I can cut off a body part that does a special attack, I'm probably not going to be seeing that special attack frequently or if at all. Or at all, I guess is what I meant to say. I like in Sunbreak where even there you can get the tail cut pretty quick, but he normally does some of the like poison gas attacks. I really think those are pretty cool, and they're fun to take advantage of the annoying quirk of hitboxes and collision boxes and all that, where if you position yourself correctly when he's doing the tail spray, you can just sort of like sit on the other side and he'll move you into a position where you can still keep hitting him, as opposed to other monsters where you'll start an attack, they'll like move a little bit and just push you out of the way so your attack moves or misses. It is so annoying, but I don't really ever find that being an issue with Pookie Pookie. So, very fun fight to me. I really like Pookie Pookie's armor set. I think I would wear it in any of the armor sets. I really like the low rank, high rank set, and I like the master rank set, and I really like the progression between them because it does look like, a beginner hunter set, and then you get like the bloodborne sort of hunter attire at master rank, and it looks really cool. So again, out of all the armor sets, I would probably like to wear the Pookie Pookie set the most. It's really cool. Moving on from Pookie Pookie, next comes Baroth, who is returning from 3U or Try. I think he was first in Try. He's alright. I love the steam train noise when he does his little charge. But again, he's not really much of a problem if you're facing him with Gunlance or Charge Blade because you're not going to be bouncing a whole lot off of his stupid head because you can just make it explode. Which is why I love Gunlance. You can just explode things and not have to worry about hit zones. Which, I mean, you do if you're sort of going for pokes and or slap lance, and with Charge Blade, you still have to worry about hit zones with the building up files and even some of the axe attacks. But for the most part, I feel like Gunlance and Charge Blade sort of minimize the hit zones, especially shit zones where your weapon bounces. I don't really find that happening a lot. At least with Baroth or any of the low rank early monsters. Or even high rank. I don't think it was until maybe Nargigante or maybe Oregon where I was like getting annoyed by my charge blade bouncing when I would go to do the charge swipe to build files. But those are in the future. So Baroth, I like him. The mud mechanic, I've never really felt like it was too engaging because it's like no matter what, I'm just gonna keep attacking the monster. So it doesn't really matter to me if I use like water to get the mud off or fire to take advantage once the mud is off. I right like with charge blade, I'll just go for impact and stun him and get a KO. And that's way more effective at dealing damage than a little bit of increased elemental damage depending on what state he's in. Um, He's pretty good about staying still sometimes too, so if I want to hit a worm stake with gun lance, which by the way, I like worm stake conceptually, but oh my god, landing worm stakes, especially in Iceborne, where you have to have the worm stake explodey thingy lodged in the monster because that's how they're designed. You're supposed to take advantage of that. So if you don't, you're gimping yourself, sort of like in GU when they have the shelling heat gauge, where if you take advantage of it, you're only back up to like base 4U level. You're not getting an advantage. You're just ungimping yourself. Which again is the issue I have in Wilds with the double Wyvern Blast. It's just like it takes away from the importance of a Wyvern Blast if it's split into two. Like, I get it. Maybe it's more satisfying and makes for nicer highlight reels if you have a double Wyvern Blast. But it's like, it just makes it feel kind of stale and like weaker if you can just be popping it off every couple of seconds. It's an exaggeration, but you know what I mean, right? So, anyway, Baroth, he's pretty easy to land Wyvern stakes on. But some of these monsters coming up are a pain in the ass, particularly one which we're going to get to shortly. So Baroth, he's all right. His armor's cool. His weapons are cool. In Rise and Sunbreak, because in World it looks like fucking Kraft mac and cheese, like painted brown and slapped onto some weapons. I know World gets a lot of shit for their terrible weapon design, and I feel like it's really deserved most of the time. Some of the weapons can be pretty cool. Like Ologaron's charge blade. I think it's Hate's Undying Flame. That looks pretty cool, I think. But mostly it's just like monster pieces like glued onto the ore or bone branch weapons, and that just feels really lazy compared to some of the earlier games' weapon designs, which were just super cool. All right, so moving on from those guys, we are going to my first monster where I feel like I differ from a lot of people in terms of pronunciation. I say Gerotidas, as in Herodotus, the Greek, ancient Greek guy, as opposed to Gerotodes, which is sort of the standard pronunciation among Western fans, I guess. But anyway, Gerotidas, I feel like it's an okay fight, and I just started going through Master Rank, so I fought Master Rank Gerotidas, and he's mostly okay, but he does this like spasm seizure flailing about, which I guess, he's a fish. That's appropriate, but it just is like kind of shitty. It looks kind of stupid too, but that's okay. He's a fish. He's trying his best, right? I love the armor for Gerotidas. It's like gladiator armor, and it just is super cool. I wish they had like given a bit of a net on one of the shoulders because one of the gladiator types wielded a trident and a net, and that sort of similar helmet, at least similar to the master rank Geraltidus armor. I think the low rank is just sort of a stereotypical Spartan or what is the spear guy? Shoot, hoplite, a hoplite helmet. So not gladiator, but his whole vibe is really cool. I love his armor. His weapons again look fucking stupid. That's the case for most of these. Even Gerotidus, like special higher tier weapon, he doesn't get a cool weapon like Toby Kadachi. He just gets like like monster parts slapped onto the fancier ore tree, which is just so lazy. The most annoying part with Girotodus, I think, in his fight is when he spits the mud, and then it's like you block the mud, and the first one goes over you, and then the second hits you, and you block it, and then he like leans back into the water, and that pushes you back into the mud. So even if you blocked it, you still get fucked over, and it is just so annoying. But luckily you hunt Baroth before Girotodus, and you can just wear the Baroth waist and not have to worry about it at all. Hey buddy. Sorry, this is my dog. He's just coming up here to say hello. You're such a good baby. Oh, are we sitting down? Oh, you're so cute. You're such a good boy. Alright, sorry for the distraction. Anyway, Toby Kadachi. He is probably my favorite, one of my favorite world monsters. He's a cool design. He's cute. I love the idea of an electric flying squirrel. Um, he was my first like real challenge where I just kept like fucking dying over and over to him. My first time playing through World. Because as I said, I was playing Gunlance only, and I was still like a total noob. I'm not good at the game now by any means, but I was so shit back then. And Gunlance, until you get used to it, is pretty clunky and immobile. You know, once you get used to it and using the charge in attack and hopping and all that, it's not too bad, especially if you get some evade extender. Um, but I didn't know any of that starting off, so Toby Kadachi just kept shoving my shit in over and over again. I triple carded to him maybe 2 or 3 times, which is a little embarrassing now that I'm playing through it again, and it's like, wow, this is like piss easy. How did I die to this? Um, but no, he was the first one that actually gave me a run for my money, and I just really like him. I love his design. I love his colors. His move set is all right. Some of it can be a bit like I'll forget when he's doing the flying thing. He'll do the like spin and then land and do a twirl. And sometimes if I'm using charge blade, I'll guard point the initial hit and forget that he does the second hit and just get destroyed. But that's on me. That's not Toby's fault. He's a good squirrel boy, dog, thing. And I really like him in Sunbreak, though my big complaint with him in Sunbreak is he roars after like every attack. Or he doesn't roar, he taunts, which is like doing a roar, but it doesn't stun you. So it gives you a lot of free openings to just beat him up. Anyway, moving on to Anjanath, who is just kind of an okay monster. I know there's like this meme of Anjanath being like destroyer of worlds, but I don't know where that started because he's really not that difficult. Even in my first time going through, Toby gave me way more trouble. So again, I don't know where it comes from. Maybe Reddit because they're shit at everything. That reminds me of there used to be a game called Tribes Ascend, and there was and I guess not an infamous or famous match if you're not like a dork about tribes games, but there was a match between Reddit and 4chan, and Reddit was like full of these tryhards who were playing pickup groups and, doing all sorts of crazy shit. And the 4chan team was like a bunch of special needs kids and one Brazilian. And they beat the shit out of the Reddit team. It was fantastic. Sorry, slight detour. Anyway, Anjanath. He's alright. I like fire in general. That's a weird thing to say. But he's like the first fire monster, and I like that. He's T-Rex-ish, of course, in his design, and there's something really intimidating about that. Maybe the people who struggled with Anjanath like watched Jurassic Park as kids or read the book and just like had like some minor subclinical PTSD and were like freezing whenever he would attack and just die because they couldn't move. Um let's see. I feel like the most annoying thing with Anjanath is like he'll have that fire breath when he's enraged and his throat is hot, which again, that just sounds weird to say. Um and he doesn't even have to do anything, or he'll just like open and close his mouth and you can just like catch on fire. Which again, for most weapons, that's not a pain in the ass, but gun lance, you either have to evade like 5 times in a row to get the fire blight to stop, or you have to sheath your weapon and then roll like 3 times, or just once if you're in water, and then get your weapon out again, and it's just like a little bit annoying. But aside from that, Anjanath is a pretty easy fight. He just, as long as you don't stand in front of him, he can't really do anything to fuck you up. So just don't stand in front of him. It's really not that hard. Hardest part is probably going for the tail cut. At least with gun lance, because with charge blade, that's piss easy. Especially if you stun him and he's KO'd and you just go up and chop, 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 chop on his tail. Though I have gotten recently a tail cut on Anjanath with the worm steak, which was so satisfying. I love getting tail cuts with worm steak. It just feels right. Anyway, that's about all I have to say about the fiery T-Rex. Then we move on to Zora Magdaros. Zora Magdaros. Who is, I had no idea what he even looked like when I was just like doodling these stupid drawings you're looking at. Um I had to like, well, I mean, I look up reference photos for everything I draw just because I'm not a good artist. But even like looking at the photos, it's like, what am I looking at? Like he is probably visually the least interesting elder dragon. Yeah, I feel like even classifying him as an elder dragon, I don't like a siege monster elder dragon, like um shoot, Cadeus maybe in 3U. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Or Rust Kushala Dawara in 4U. I think you also have Dalamadur, which sounds like a Lord of the Rings character or location. Um, a number of other large monsters, maybe Gog Zamios, I think his name is. A lot of these names for games I haven't played or haven't like fought those monsters in yet, I just sort of register their names as like blocks of text, and I don't really know what they say. So if I mispronounce those names, that's why. Anyway, to get to Zora Magdaros, he is just kind of a shitty fight. Even when you're just repelling him, it's just boring. You have to like explode some stationary objects and then tell Nergigante to fuck off, which I don't remember it being super easy, but this last playthrough I just like got one mount on Nergigante and stabbed him a few times, and then and he was just like, "Oh, peace out." It was so easy. Um, anyway, Zora Magdaros, the final fight where you have to kill him again is just totally trivial. I don't. Oh, Jen Moran or whatever, the big guy from For You in the opening and the end of low rank, and then again the end of high rank. Um, you had to do the little shuffle going between the cannons and the ballistae, and I didn't enjoy it in World. I didn't enjoy it in For You, and I did not enjoy it going back to World. It is just not fun gameplay. I like the big explosions, of course, but it really isn't that fun. And the Dragon Piercer, it is so phallic. Freud is probably rolling in his grave so quickly that we could use him to produce energy for like half of America. It's it is like this big thrusting rod of power. It's like, okay, Tokuda. Is Tokuda the guy who worked on World? I know he worked on Wilds, and and we saw how that turned out. So anyway, that's really all I have to say about Zora. He's very unremarkable. His weapons aren't that great. His armor looks pretty cool, but I never use it because, again, like Gunlance Charge Blade, I don't really. For most of low rank, I was using like Anjanath and High Metal Waist, Anjanath Legs, High Metal Waist, and that gives you most. Oh, Paolumu Arms, and then Legiana chest and head. And sometimes when I got an artillery charm, I would swap out the arms for the Legiana arms so I could get the set bonus, which is just like more quest rewards. Anyway, we'll get to that. Next is Paolumu, who is just the big rat which flies around. He I feel like he looks like World War II anti-Japanese propaganda. I don't know if I can say that, but like he has the like slit eyes and like the rat teeth. I just feel really bad like fighting him because it's like did the Japanese know what they were doing when they made him? Ugh. Anyway, he's really easy. Again, just make him explode. He's like a cotton ball rat. Really, there's nothing remarkable there. Next is Radobon, who is very fun to fight, at least as Gunlance Charge Blade, because of all the satisfying, crunchy part breaks. I love it. Sometimes I'll just let him go for a swim in the tar so he can get more bones, so I can get more part breaks. It's so satisfying. And that's really it. I love Charge Blade because if you guard point his roll, he just fucks up and crashes. And you can do that every time because it's super telegraphed. So that makes it really easy. You can go for something similar with Charge or Gun Lance where you just shell him when he starts rolling at you and it catches him pretty regularly, but I don't remember if you still get hit or not because I just prefer using Charge Blade for him because I can just guard point it. Um, and that's it. I love his armor. It's super cool. It reminds me of Daft Punk, and I love Daft Punk. So, of course, if there weren't better options, I would wear his armor all the time. If they gave us his layered armor, I would totally wear that, like, for the most part. I would probably get tired of it. And like Sunbreak, I change up my layered armor pretty regularly. Just because I like changing it and seeing what different combinations I can make. But where am I? What am I saying? Rotoban is very cool. Very cool armor. Next, we move on to Legiana, who just won't shut the fuck up, even in low rank, even in high rank. Before we get Shrieking Legiana, there was still Shrieking Legiana. She just didn't get called Shrieking Legiana. I've, her fight is okay. Just flash bomb her and she falls out of the sky. It's really easy. Um, I think the Raytheon Charge Blade is what I use most for her because it's really effective at poisoning her, which she's weak against, and I feel like the axe mode is more effective at hitting her than like charge or gun lance upswing and shelling, because that takes a while to set up and she can move around quite a bit as opposed to like Rathalos. Oh, I may have to end the recording right now, so there may be a part 2 or 3 or whatever. All right, so continuing, because apparently I didn't need to take a break. I was talking about Legiana, tackling her with the Raytheon Charge Blade, poisoning her. I always capture her just because I like her armor set. One, it looks okay. I like the helmet more than anything. Um, but really, I like the set bonus more than anything. More quest rewards is always nice. Because as much as I love farming and grinding, I like get bored easily. And so it's like if I can like cut down on one hunt relative, in the span of hunting a monster, it's like, okay, I'll take it. Um but yeah, she the most annoying thing is her shrieking roar. And of course that gets worse in Master Rank, but I haven't gotten to that yet in Master Rank myself, so or at least this time around. I have previously. So I don't know. I like her wings. They're pretty. I thought they were like meant to be a Star of David, like the Jewish symbol at first, but no, I don't think they are. Then we move on to another monster whose pronunciation I feel like I pronounce differently than most people I hear saying it. Odogaron, where, okay, I don't speak Spanish, but Odogaron looks like a Spanish word. So, and he's sort of like a bull, right? Toro, toro, waving a cape and stuff. So, in my head, I just say Odogaron, um, as opposed to Odogaron, which just sounds so stupid to me. But I feel like he's a fun fight, especially with Charge Blade. Like I said, I vacillate, or not vacillate. I go back and forth between, or is that what vacillate means? It's been a while since I've used that word. Anyway, I'm sorry. I I'm sorry. So I go back and forth between Charge Blade and Gun Lance, and I mean a couple of other weapons. I'll use Hammer for for some monsters, or Great Sword if I feel like using a Great Sword. Or if I really want to get like a really satisfying tail cut, Great Sword is really good for that. Lance is good for more defensive fights where Gun Lance is a bit too slow, because Lance is a really fast mobile weapon. Insect Glaive, I used that a lot in my last Rise playthrough, and that felt like overpowered, honestly, because coming from Gunlance, it's just so mobile and it's just fantastic. Anyway, Odogaron really easy to fight with Charge Blade because you can just guard point most of his attacks. It's not like they're so close to each other where you can't just guard point, guard point. And I know at least in Rise you can like guard point, guard point, guard point one after another. I don't think I've encountered any monsters yet in World where I have to like do one, two, three. They just don't attack that quickly. So anyway, I like his fight. His design is pretty cool. I mean, he's like just a big, like skinless dog, sort of. I like dogs. I My dog was just here earlier. I was saying hello to him. He has another satisfying tail break. I feel like his gimmick, the bleed gimmick, isn't really that bad. I don't like get hit by it too much, but I do like how his mobility and his pressure plays into the bleed thing of like you don't want to move, but if you're fighting him, you do want to move. So there's a nice back and forth there. I really like that design. Um, yeah, he's enjoyable. I think I was surprised that they brought him back for Wilds. I really don't know why they went with World and Wilds, especially for the Japanese speaking audience. Because then you have like Warudo, Weirdos. It's like, how are they going to keep those two apart? I don't know. I have trouble with it as an English speaker, or a speaker of the English language. I'm in America. Um, Excuse me. And clearly I have mostly an American accent. Um, let's see. He's fun. I wish we had little, like Jagras has or Great Jagras has the little Jagras sizes. I wish we had little Ologaron puppies like scampering about, but I wouldn't want to kill them. So maybe it's best that we don't have little puppies running around. Also, I like that he comes right after Legiana and his weakness is ice, so you can just beat the shit out of him with it. Not that Elemental Charge Blade didn't really feel that good going through World because I noticed pretty early on, like, even like a solid, like, high elemental damage Charge Blade against an animal that's weak or a monster that's weak to that element, it still dealt like maybe half the damage that like an impact file did. So it's like, what's the point? Like, I'm just gonna use impact because then I get more damage and I get knockouts every now and then. So I I vaguely remember them addressing that in Iceborne or hearing something about that. I have not progressed far enough into Iceborne to really be able to tell. I know in Sunbreak they definitely addressed that and it felt great. So I hope that I have a reason to use the elemental charge blades because I love their SAED animations. They're just, as opposed to like the other games where it's just like big particle effects, they have like element specific effects. So like thunder is a bunch of lightning. I don't know why they call it thunder damage and not lightning damage. I I just don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me. The ice is like ice spikes coming up out of the ground. Fire is like a big burst of fire. It's really cool, and I don't know why they didn't bring it back for Wilds. Wilds. Anyway, after Odogaron comes Diablos, who is really cool. He sits in the desert all day drinking tequila. Tequila? Is it tequila or tequila? I don't know. Um, he's a fun fight with Charge Blade, with Gun Lance, with Lance. They're all pretty good against him. Yeah, he has satisfying part breaks, satisfying tail cuts. I feel like those are what make my favorite monsters more than like movesets or armors or anything. I really like if they have really satisfying part breaks and tail cuts. I'm not a sadist, I promise. I really am quite a bit of a masochist. That's neither here nor there, but I don't enjoy hurting people or other things. But there's just something really satisfying about it in Monster Hunter. Speaking of armor, the Ologaron armor, I love that Wilds let us wear like the other sex's armor so that I can make my hunter in Wilds wear like the sexy Ologaron cutout armor. It's super hot. So I'm glad that's like the one change Wilds made that I endorse. The the cross dressing, which don't take that out of context. Context. That's always a word I have trouble saying. Text and texts, like the plural of text. Anyway, man, I'm sorry. I really do ramble sometimes. You kill Diablos. He's pretty easy. Even Black Diablos in high rank is pretty easy. Maybe I'm just so used to fighting Diablos, especially because I went into World like pretty shortly after going through Sunbreak, and Sunbreak Diablos is especially afflicted Sunbreak Diablos at the higher investigation levels is just like a totally different fight in terms of attention that you need to pay and the skill, quote unquote skill it demands from the hunter. I will maintain that Monster Hunter isn't really like so hard that you need to be skilled at it to do hunts, maybe to do well. And certainly you have to be autistic to do speed running. I don't know if you have to be good for that or just willing to, fight RNGesus to get like a good queue of enemy attacks that let you just wail on the guy until he's dead. Um, but maybe that's why Diablos was so easy, relatively speaking, because I remember he was so fucking intimidating my first time going through World. Anyway, then Rathalos. I really don't like Rathalos. As a fight, he's just too much in the air, which goes doubly for Azure Rathalos, who is like probably my least favorite fight so far. I just don't like him. I much prefer Raytheon. I I don't know how to pronounce some of these names, so I just sort of do both. Um, and I'll also talk about Pink Raytheon right now, Rathian, because the next few monsters in the list of assignments is just repeating Zora, Pookie, and Anjanath. So let's talk about Raytheon and Rathalos. Um, I think it's nice that they have like a power couple, as one of the quests refers to them as. Um, I definitely prefer Rathian to fight. Rathalos. I mean, his fire is okay. His poison is annoying. It's better in World, aside. Well, let's see. I remember in 4U his stupid claw attack giving me a lot of trouble, especially with Azure Rathalos. But in World, it really isn't that bad. Um, his part breaks aren't really as satisfying, I don't think. Raytheon, her tail break is peak because it looks cool when it gets cut, and it affects her mechanic. Like she can't poison you with her tail, which I think is a really cool change. Because in 4U, when I would, or even 3U, when I would get poisoned after I cut her tail, it's like, why? There's no more spike to spike me with her poison. This is bullshit. But World fixed that, so that's one good thing World did. Excuse me. Um, I like that if I'm having trouble finding them on the map, which I don't really. But if I am having trouble or I want to summon them, I can just go grab one of their eggs and they'll show up in pretty short order. That's pretty satisfying. Um, I don't really fight them together ever, even in quests where they're both on the map. I just bring dung pods because trying to fight two monsters at once never goes well for me. Maybe I'm just not good at like multitasking, but I just get my shit shoved in. Because I'll like try to avoid one attack and like dodge right into another attack from the other monster. All right, next up we have the Elder Dragon Bonanza, starting with Nergigante, who first time through World he was so fucking hard. I like I had to resort to Lance, and I say resort to Lance. That's a little condescending to Lance users. But Lance is like my comfort weapon, and I imagine it is for a lot of people, because it feels safe, but you can have a lot of damage uptime, which makes it feel pretty good. Excuse me. Um, this time I took him out with let's see, I think I just for old time's sake I did it with Lance and it went okay. Then I went through with Gunlance and just destroyed him. So Gunlance, I think I got better with it after going through World, Iceborne, Rise, Sunbreak, 4U, 3U, some of Frontier, some of uh, Freedom Ultimate, a bit of GU, and then Rise and Sunbreak, and then World low rank again. So I definitely improved, I would say. Um, anyway, his fight is okay. His gimmick of like break the thorns, even with the Uganda or not Ugandan, the Oregon armor with part breaker. I never really seemed to notice that I was like breaking the thorns. Maybe I just didn't see it, but I don't know. It didn't really ever feel that good to me to like focus on breaking the horns. Really, I just ended up on like trying to deal damage and not take damage. And that's really a winning strategy for most fights. Other than that, I don't really have much to say. I think his design is like okay. I think I think he really highlights how fucking stupid World Story is. Like he's a good part of the ecosystem, whatever. And we're just killing him because whatever. There is no reason because if we were to think about it, we wouldn't kill him because he's doing our job. Like it's just stupid. At least the earlier games didn't like try to fuck about with a story that like could have holes like this. Like 3U, it's like, oh, protect our fishing village. Great. I don't need any more story than that. 4U, the story was okay, but it's still like, oh, just protect this area. It's like, okay, I'll go kill something. World, it's like, oh, we need to save the continent. Like, fuck off. It's stupid. And don't even get me started on Wild Story. Next up, my very least favorite Elder Dragon, Kushala Daora, or Dora the Explorer, or whatever. It just sucks. Even going through this time, it sucked. I did not hunt him more than once, and I likely won't. Even in Rise Break, I only hunted him once. I just don't like his fight. Simple. I don't have much more to say. It's not fun for me. Next, by contrast, Teostra, how the Fire Lion. He's very fun. I like him. He's a bit more of a challenge to fight with Gunlance and or Charge Blade than he is with Insect Glaive, because going through Rise Break, I may need to cut off the recording in a bit. Going through Rise Break, I used Insect Glaive against him, and he like could not touch me, so it was like a free kill basically. In World, I'm not using Insect Glaive. I'm just doing Charge Blade, Gun Lance, and maybe some Great Sword and Lance and Hammer. Actually, I did use I used a heavy bowgun to take down Kushala Daora because I just don't give a fuck. I don't care to engage with that monster. But Teostra, very fun fight. I love his explosive sneeze. Very cool. I just love explosions. Make a monster that explodes, I'm gonna love it. Basil Juice, absolutely peak. He wasn't an assigned quest, so I haven't talked about him yet. But Basil Juice is really cool. He's just like an awesome explosive pigeon. How do you get cooler than that? Anyway, Teostra, not the worst fight. I think he is probably my favorite Elder Dragon aside from, well, Xeno'jiiva isn't really like that fun to fight, but it's a nice spectacle fight. Teostra, I think, is the most engaging actual fight. Oh yeah, cutting off right now. Alright, and I'm back. I'm probably not gonna edit these breaks out. I'm lazy, so yeah. Why make myself do do more work? Where was I? I was talking about how Teostra is a fun fight. I really do think he's fun. I like that he can move the blast dust clouds all over with his wings. I like that he has the fire and the blast blight. I feel like there's good variety, good positioning. It's just an interesting fight. Very satisfying. Good part breaks. Not quite as nice as Radabon, but probably the best out of the Elder Dragons. Um, yeah, Valhazak, I don't really notice part breaks. He looks like he's already been broken. Anyway, I guess I'll use that as a segue into Valhazak. The AIDS dragon. Oh, or COVID, I guess, right? That's what we're supposed to say these days for the disease that people reference as being deadly or whatever. I don't know. He's probably got AIDS and syphilis and COVID and grids. His fight, pretty trivial, even with the effluvium mechanic. I don't think I carded to him. Even on my first go through, I probably carded to him because I carded to like every monster because I was shit. But I don't think I triple carded to him. He's pretty easy. He's big and slow and kind of dopey, and he just sort of breathes everywhere. It's not very intimidating. He does fit with the Rotten Veil, though. I like that he fits into the environment. I just wish his fight were like was like interesting. It's not, he's an okay design. I like the idea of like an undead dragon, in more sort of a zombie way than like the Malzeno vampire way. And oh, sorry, I just had to move my laptop. Yeah, there's not really much that I have to say about Valhazak. He blows big vape clouds as opposed to Kushala, who is obviously smoking the ganja. Yeah, I really don't. I mean, I appreciate like damage over time and health affecting mechanics that aren't just like straight damage. Uh, but I feel like the effluvium or effluvia never put me into a state where I was like, oh, I'm susceptible to getting one shot, because I don't think Valhazak, at least in high rank, does enough damage to like one shot you, even if you have like half health from the effluvia. So kind of boring fight, honestly. I like the acid lakes though; those are very nice blue color. Anyway, on to the final elder dragon and sort of the final boss of Monster Hunter World base game, Xenojiva, or Xeno apostrophe Jiva. He is, he's okay. Like I said, he's more of a spectacle fight. I love it. I like the spectacle. It's very cool looking. Couple times I forgot that I didn't have guard up, so I went to block his laser and I just got blasted. But I don't think I carded this run through to him at all. Yeah, he's a bit big. The most frustrating thing about fighting him is I think I used the Raytheon gun lance, which is a normal type, so full burst is primarily what I'd be going for with that. Um, and he is so big that he's just like above the full burst. So like maybe two shells will hit him. So that was frustrating. If I had to go fight him again, I'd probably take the basil juice gun lance. Um, because wide shelling I think would be more effective for sort of hit and run or poke shelling attack strategy or whatever. I know you're supposed to be able to break his wings, but I don't know how the hell you're supposed to do that unless they're like exposed when he gets toppled. But I never really focused on that because I don't. His weapons aren't that great. They're kind of ugly. Um, and his armor, again, isn't that great. And it's kind of like too much. So I think he's really cool in terms of like an extraterrestrial sort of science fiction dragon design almost. Very, I mean, certainly a departure from another like Shigaru Magala or Cadeus or Cadius, the big undersea guy from 3U, or even Malzeno is much more a traditional dragon than Xenojiva. Um, yeah, he looks kind of like an Alienware computer, so maybe that's why I think he's an alien. He has all the cool glowing parts. Um, oh, that's right. We had the Dreadlock Elf, or the Dreadlock Wyverian, Eugene. I use the Japanese language audio, so some of I mean, Ryujin is like, or Ryu, not Ryu, Ryujin. My Japanese is terrible, by the way, if you couldn't tell. Um, some of the words are like not, like, especially in wilds, like wyvern milk is gyunyu, which is a play on gyunyu, which is the word for milk, or cow's milk, I think. Um, I don't know why the hell they called it wyvern milk. Like, why not just call it wum? Because it looks like wyvern cum. It's just I have issues with wilds, so I'm not going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about Xenojiva, the lovely big alien laser dragon. Fun fight, good part breaks. I don't know if he has a. Does he have a tail cut? Let me pull that up just right quick because I know if he does, I got it, but I don't actually remember if he does or if I'm like, yeah, he does. He has a tail cut. It felt very good. Um, but yeah, aside from that, I mean, he's just sort of a big plotting dragon. He doesn't really have any attacks that I felt like were dangerous or that I had to keep an eye out for because he's so big. It's really easy to sort of tell what's coming up. I think the one that got me the most was when he would do his slam down and then another slam and then an energy explosion. That caught me once because I wasn't prepared for the energy explosion because I'd forgotten about it. And then another time I think I had my shields up, Ironbreakers. I had my shield up, but the explosion caught me from behind. But aside from that, it's just pretty easy to see him getting ready to do it, so you can just sheath and like walk away. I don't think you even have to sprint away to evade it. Anyway, that covers the assigned quests for the most part. I know there are a few other ones in high rank looking at the wiki, the shitty wiki, the Fextra Life, just because it has it conveniently all in a list here. There's the tempered basil juice quest and a tempered curing. Um, Basil juice, as I've said, I love him. I hate his weapon design. It's so bland. And his lance, especially the seething basil juice lance, looks like a dog's penis, which unfortunately I know what that looks like. I have a dog who is male. I also used to work at a kennel, so I'm acquainted with that, unfortunately. Um, Very weird design choice. Let's see. His fight generally, basil juice is, which again, basil juice is how I say it because, or yes, basil juice because it's spelled like Beetlejuice, like the star, um, as opposed to like, I know if I call the herb basil. So if I say basil juice, I don't think like the juice of the plant, of the basil plant. But if I were to say basil juice, it would sound like that. But I imagine to like a normal the reason I say words weird sometimes is a family member, a parent of mine is English, and so that sort of infected the way that I speak. So sometimes I pronounce words somewhat Englishy or have an English cadence or whatever. So that's why I say basil juice because it just feels right as opposed to basil goose, I think is how other people say. The Japanese, I think, is basil goose, which is weird. They could say juice, but they didn't. Anyway, his fight is fun. I love the scales. I love the explosions. He definitely has them way better than Oregon does. They're more intuitive. They're faster, so you don't just like forget about them and then they explode, and it's just like, oh, that's fucking annoying. Um, Excuse me. I love his aerial bombing attack. Absolutely fantastic. Um, yeah, I just, he's great. I love his roar. He has the coolest sounding roar, I think, in World so far. Let's see, out of all the ones, Jagras, does Jagras even roar? Kuliaku has like the chicken clucking, Pookie Pookie, and Baroth doesn't have a good roar. Gerotidus doesn't have a good roar. Toby, he has a cute roar. Anjanath, oh, he's okay. Paolumu, I don't even remember. I probably blocked it. Radobon, don't remember. Legiana, the worst roar. Odogaron, he's okay. Rathalos, just annoying. Diablos, annoying, but I like it. Um, Rathian, I think her roar is okay. Nergigante, it's alright. Kushala, Daora, just shit. Everything with Kushala is shit. Teostra, he's cool. Does Val Hazak roar? I don't know. Xenojiva has a cool roar, but none of them even come close to Basil Juice. Basil Juice, damn it. Anyway, Kieran. I feel like Kieran is a zebra, whatever. I know he's meant to be a Kieran from Chinese mythology, which is like a horse thing, I think. I don't know Chinese mythology very much. And the wiki page does not seem to have any notes talking about specifically. So let's see. Is it like a chimera? What the fuck is it? Ming Dynasty bought giraffes. So it's identified with giraffes? Holy shit. I would not have guessed that. So they brought back giraffes and zebras, incense, and various other exotic animals. I wonder if they're including. Well, no, I won't say that. So very weird. Huh. And the Kirin looks like it has more than one horn. So very weird. It looks like they took the name from a Kirin, but it's sort of like a unicorn in practice. Very strange, but interesting. Anyway, the fight's okay. Pretty easy, all things considered, at least the low rank and high rank versions. I haven't gotten to the master rank yet. I will say, at the time, because I did all of the world capture quests as soon as they became available, so I got to the Kirin right at around Odogaron in low rank, and that was tough. I did have a hard time with that because I went in with gun lance, and that's not the right weapon for Kirin. It's a little too slow, I think. Whereas in For You, I didn't have any issue with gun lance against Kirin, though I think I did use hammer just to pulverize its brain. But yeah, silly Kirin. I forgot Kirin was an elder dragon because it doesn't look like a dragon at all, and it's not particularly big or imposing like the other elder dragons. So I tried to trap it, and of course that didn't work. And I was like, "What the fuck?" And I made sure to, I made sure to bring a pitfall trap because I was like, "Oh, well, the thunder trap clearly isn't going to work." Stupid. Anyway, I'm going to go through the list here to just get any stragglers that I haven't talked about. Devil Joe, um, kind of a meh fight. I'd say he's harder here than he was in For You, where he was like a pushover. Dodogama is okay. I know he's like sort of a meme monster where it's like, oh, he's so cute. It's like he's not really, like he's just like another fat lizard that's not really hard. His tail cut isn't that great. It's his armor is good. He has good armor for gun lance and charge blade. At least the Greaves and the Waste. Those are nice. Great Gyros is the paralytic lizard thing. I think he uses the same skeleton as Toby and Odogaron do. It's an okay fight. I absolutely take Charge Blade for this because the Elemental Discharge 2 attack, where you just like sweep the axe around twice, it's fantastic for getting rid of the little Gyros, whatever minions. And once they're down, the Great Gyros is like trivially easy. His armor is forgettable. I think it's like some leathery thing. I didn't really like it that much. Next, let's see. Kirin Kuliaku. I have not fought Kulv Taroth in any capacity, nor have I fought Ancient Leshen or Behemoth. So I'm not going to talk about them. Lavasioth, eminently forgettable. I totally forgot he existed until I just saw him in this list. Linostra, I have not fought yet, but I hear she's a pain. Pui Rathalos, Azure Rathalos, subspecies. Tsitsiyaku. Again, forgettable. Pretty easy. Harder than Kuluyaku, I will say, because he has that. He kicks a lot and does some spinning. So I forgot about that, and it got me once or twice. But aside from that, he's pretty trivially easy, especially like even without a shield weapon, you can just like turn away and your character is fine. And then finally, to officially end it with Oregon, probably one of my least favorite fights in base world. I didn't like him in 3U either. I haven't fought him in 3U, but he was part of an egg transport quest, and he roared and I dropped an egg, and so I threw shit at him, and he ran away and I finished the quest. But I don't like him because of that. Plus, he's just annoying. He's like a shittier basil juice in World. His fucking annoying explosion things take so damn long to go off that like I'll forget they exist. They'll be out of my field of view, and I'll like dodge an attack and go right into an explosion, and it's just like, oh, that sucks. But again, he's pretty easy. I'm annoyed that I can't do the guard point topple like I can with Radabon. But whatever. He has the annoying head slam thing, which isn't even that bad. It just has the tremor, which again isn't really that annoying. Like, he doesn't have a fast follow up that takes advantage of the tremor. So pretty easy. His armor is okay. I like the part breaker skills. I love having part breaker in Monster Hunter. It's very quality of life. I enjoy part breaking. So, oh dear. What the fuck? Man, that is some intense. Sorry, I was just going through a thread and saw a crazy image. Wow, I don't even understand how that happens anatomically. It's this dude whose finger is like hyperextended and really weird looking. Not to shit talk anybody, but wow, that just threw me for a loop. Anyway, I feel like that's where I'm gonna end it for now. I mostly enjoyed talking through this. I feel like I just rambled and didn't really say anything of value, but I don't know. I know I love listening to like people just sort of talk about stuff when I'm driving or going to sleep, and so I thought I would just record my voice and some thoughts and throw it up on the internet, for lack of a better phrase. So I don't know if you've listened this far, then I hope you enjoyed it. I assume you did, because I don't see somebody hate listening to the entirety of this poorly or hardly edited. I can't imagine I'm going to edit this very much, if at all, aside from like trying to somewhat space the drawings I've done, which are just like silly sketches, somewhat corresponding to where topics change in the video. But even then, I doubt I'll do that. That's a lot of work, right? So anyway, thank you for listening. Yeah, I have stuff I can go do now. So, yep. Monster hunters, hunting monsters. That's the whole point. It's a good series to get into if you need to distract from stuff. I can recommend it on that basis. But if you need to be recommended Monster Hunter, then you probably haven't listened to this video, and if you have, then your motivations are beyond my comprehension. I just did like the douchey like laugh while talking. I hate it when people do that. And the fact I'm doing it means I'm just rambling, because I don't know how to like end